Hello, everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode here. This is episode 55. You have myself, Farrahs, my co-host, Sebastian, and Zach. Happy to have Zach back for the summer holidays from hockey.
Yeah.
And today we have our guest here, Farrah Qadir. And please introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, hello. I'm Farrah, as Shiraz said. I'm a psychologist working here in Calgary, Alberta. I work with couples. I do individual therapy for folks that are 15 plus. That's a little
nice.
bit. Yeah.
What's the name of your practice? Is it called a practice? Like, there's a lot of questions I have. So I'll start right there. So there's a psychologist, there's a psychiatrist. There's a difference, right? And you are?
I'm a psychologist. And so the primary difference, for just to simplify it, is psychiatrists go the medical school route.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologists typically in Alberta will have up to a master's, or they'll have a PhD or a PsyD, a doctorate in psychology. So psychiatrists, quite simply, will provide the medication.
Mm-hmm.
Some will provide some therapy depending on what kind of psychiatrist they are. But psychologists are more about the therapy aspect of mental health,
Awesome. And did you always want to get into this field, or is it something you decided later?
Yeah, I wanted to get into this. I actually decided when I was 9.
Wow.
And
I wish I knew what I wanted to do at 9.
I was 9, and a lot of it had to do with some lived experience. I noticed, a loved one struggling with mental health issues, and it just kind of dawned on me that, well, this person can't be the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to be kind of a vessel for change in the mental health sector. And, it was a calling at the time, and I stuck to it. It took me a while, but.
Good for you.
Well, no, congrats. Nice. I'm glad you're doing well.
To it.
And you have a clinic. Like, what's the page? Like, what's the name? You have is it online or is it just like an Instagram?
Right now it's on Instagram. It's called FQ Psychology. So it's running. I had a website, but it's under construction.
Oh, it says here, FQ Psychology.
Yeah, exactly.
5-star reviews.
Wow. Oh, right on the 17th?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 909 17 Ave Southwest. And there you are. And then it's Instagram, right? There's an Instagram?
Yeah, there's an Instagram.
Is it called just that?
Yeah, just that.
There we go.
Yeah.
So for those out there, please follow FQ Psychology, Farrah Qadir. So we'll let you keep going on. So how long have you been officially... First, how long did it take you to school?
So it took me, after high school, I did 4 years of an undergrad and my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a master's in counseling psychology through Yorkville. Mm-hmm. And now I'm doing my doctorate.
Wow. Nice. Good for you.
So it's a lot of school. What I like to kind of put out there for people that are interested in becoming a psychologist, you have to really know the why as to why, again, you're doing this. Because it's a lot of school, but at the same time, anything is time consuming. But if you're passionate about it,
worthwhile is taking time to do that. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a 16 year experience in mental health.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did a lot of work with youth. I did some work in supervising visits between children, youth, and their parents that were in foster care. I've worked with immigrant youth, their families, doing in-home family counseling. I was a supervisor of a group home of behaviorally challenged children for a little while there. And different kind of counseling type of work.
Wow, good for
you.
you.
Well, homeless and addictions.
You've probably seen a lot of stuff.
I was about to say, I imagine you can't disclose, but I'm sure your eyes and ears have witnessed quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I commend you for the field you're in. It takes a very special person to not only have empathy for those that struggle, but to then not only be their lending hand in their battle, right? I mean, us we joke about realtors sometimes being like therapists to our clients and having to be in the middle of a lot of tough situations.
Close at that level.
But not we just say it as a joke. Right?
I've definitely been with clients who like opened up to me a lot, and I try not to, I try to be professional, just kind of be just a board where they can bounce things off of me, right? But I always understand that I'm not a professional.
Yeah,
right?
you don't want to give any advice.
Yeah. And how do you feel about people who give advice that aren't trained? I mean, you must have an opinion on that.
I love that question because I most certainly have an opinion on that. It drives me a little bit bonkers when untrained professionals are giving advice that's more on the clinical side of things. So, I know TikTok is a huge kind of vessel for people to create change and get
give advice.
Thank you. Yeah. And so I've noticed that, for example, there's like a trend on ADHD for a little while.
Okay.
And people kind of talking about what ADHD is and what you need to do, but they're not professionals. They could be coaches. They could be, which is fine. But I just feel like it makes more sense coming from somebody who's studied it.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. It's like those funny things where there's a personal trainer and yet he's like obese. It's like, you're not going to listen to him. Come on, pal. You don't take your own advice.
Well, I was my uncle was in the hospital a couple weeks ago. Nothing major, but my cousin was there, and I had to talk bad about him. But the doctor came in, and my cousin kind of started rattling off possible issues, and the doctor looks at him and said, "You went to school?
You a doctor?
You're a doctor?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Just turn the other way." It's like if you're trained, you went to school, you did that, you have credibility. Yeah. Like that's same with like us giving information. Like we can give information about housing in the market because we're trained in it. Yeah. I want to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's the same in psychology, where if someone gives bad advice, even with a good heart, it could be way, way worse, right? Better to give no advice if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not to say like people are, they're not, there's no ill intent. Typically, people are trying to be helpful, but some people are also trying to build, can I say clout?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, does that work?
We are, the Why Would I Say Real Estate Show is trying to build clout.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah. So when you started out, obviously there's schooling, there's experience and kind of hours I imagine you have to put in. Like you mentioned, you worked in a few different businesses. Are you under the supervision? Do you have to kind of shadow someone that's been in the industry before you are allowed to go on your own? How does that work?
Absolutely. So after you finish your master's, so in Alberta, master's is the requirement. In other places, it's a doctorate. So while you're in your master's program, you have to start doing a practicum. So that requires a number of hours. I don't quote me on how much because I don't know, but I forgot. But you have to do a practicum for a number of hours, and then after the practicum, then you can be registered as a provisional psychologist, which is then you're under supervision of a registered psychologist who I believe right at this time needs to be registered for at least 5 years. Oh, okay. And then you have to be under their training.
For how long?
For another 1,600 hours, I believe. 1,600 hours of work with clients, patients.
And when did you get your because you have your own practice? We saw it here. It's downtown. Right here it says 909 17 Ave Southwest. So when did you start that, and how long have you been there?
Yeah, so I started this about, I would say, a year and a half ago, and I do mostly online, and then so that office is for folks that want to come in person, or couples, of course, that want to come in person, and I've been here for a year, I would say. I feel like I'm confused at my timeline sometimes, but yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Busy, that means you're busy.
Yeah.
So for you personally, do you find that is there any benefits to doing the therapy online over in person?
Yeah, I mean the benefits for online, great question. Online is convenience. The other thing is I think people that are dealing with social anxiety or other health issues, are not as mobile, they can do it from home.
Okay, they won't hesitate to come in then.
Yeah, they won't
Okay.
hesitate. They'll get the help they need. Of course, face to face, as we're sitting here, has a different edge to it and a bit more personal. You get a really good feeling of body
energy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's.
I would say it's exactly like case by case basis. There's probably some that are not as severe, and it's more than fine to deal with these clients via Zoom or however you're doing these online ones. But I can imagine there's some where you have to force them and say, no, we need to sit, we need to talk, we need to figure this out.
Yeah.
So do you have like the classic, is there like a couch they're going to lay on and talk to you? Is it like that?
I've had in previous placements where I worked, like clinics or psychology centers, whatever you want to call them. There was a couch, and I did have some clients that wanted to lay down.
My mom always said this.
Yes, it has happened. But I mean, is that bringing up something for you?
No. We can talk later.
So, it's there's the proverbial couch thing, but in my current practice, I'm still setting things up. So it's very just basic chairs and a desk. Still inviting though.
Amazing. And it's always like one-on-one, one-on-two with a couple. You're not doing like group sessions or anything like that?
No, not currently.
Because the three of us might need a group session for our podcast.
Yeah, this, I think so.
Little counseling, that'd be great.
There's some tension here.
Yeah.
I feel it, yeah.
Thanks again for coming on. Is there any questions you have for us or about the real estate market? I know you and I were talking about real estate for you and yourself and your family. So if there's any general questions you have where the market is or anything you'd like to know from three agents, feel free.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious. I believe that the market is still booming, and it will be for a while, just because of the influx of Torontonians, Vancouver, and like 1.1 million, or you guys might know more, are moving into Canada.
It's 175 per day.
There we go.
So,
which is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot. That was the running average a few months ago, listed on CRIP. I make posts about this stuff all the time on my Instagram and everything. So it's definitely around there. Obviously, that number might have changed, but take that as a running average.
There was 175 people looking for housing, like coming from a different province every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
So you're right. For the last 2 years, it's been like that, and for the last 2 years, we've been in a severe seller's market. Just before you got here, we were discussing some deals, and I was supposed to show 6 properties this afternoon, and I can only show 2. And of those 2, I just found out they've accepted an offer, and I haven't even gotten there yet. Yeah. So it's really tough for buyers right now. Yeah. You must kind of take the risk and go into a property with less conditions than you normally would want. Like, I want an inspection, I need my finance condition, I want you guys to do a professional cleaning. Right now, you're not going to get accepted if you're against a few other offers, because a lot of them are going to go unconditional to get it. Yeah. The one we missed out on was $550. It sold in 2 hours for $580. So that's still happening, right? Whoa, so the demand is so high, the inventory is record low, and so it's a supply and demand. Right. We have way much more demand than supply we have. Builders are getting announcements, like we were talking before you got here, in the Chinook area, there's announced a week ago 6,000 more residential coming there, as well as if you look on the outskirts of Calgary, there's so many new communities all under construction, but what do you see on their signs? Sold out, all the pre-construction stuff.
Phase 2, like 60% sold. Yeah,
exactly. So, and we've watched numbers climb since we started this podcast 54 episodes ago. We watched the benchmark price in Calgary around the 500 mark to well over 600,000 today. And the biggest change in the last 2 months is the townhouse sector. That's become the most affordable, and it's the median, right? Not everyone, because the benchmark price 600,000, it's the benchmark price. An average nice detached big house is actually 700,000 to 800,000 now, right? So what's affordable is 400 to 500. So you're looking at a townhouse. Because even condos we were looking at, they're 350, 380, right,
Yeah.
for an apartment now.
Right.
Apartment that you would get for 150. Yes, we were talking, there's a few odd ones out there that are 165,000, but they're 300 square
300
feet.
square feet.
Okay.
They're the size of this boardroom.
Do you feel like it's a good time to, like, if you had a property, would you be okay holding on to it or there's no rush is what I'm trying to ask to.
It depends if you're talking in behalf of a seller or a buyer in today's market. Like, are you considering
As a seller.
As a seller, there's no better time than these last 2 years and right now. You want to get the most for your property on a sale, you sell it now. You know, we're in summer, spring. This is the hottest time anyways. They call this the magic month of May, and have a look at the numbers. Like, I can't even show my clients a property. It's sold by the time we're driving over there. So if you're a seller, this is the time to take advantage. Now, there is an asterisk there.
On the flip side though, if you sell, you have to buy.
Exactly.
So then you're back as a buyer. So it really depends if you have time to look, time to wait.
And what's your motivation?
And what's your motivation? How much money you're willing to spend? If you're willing to make enough money in your property to overspend when you buy,
or are you downsizing?
I mean,
The thing is, you sell high, you buy high. You sell low, you buy low. Right?
Yeah.
It's all depending on your personal timing.
Right.
Right. So as long as you're gonna be playing within the same market, it's okay. Right. But I mean, it would be terrible if you bought a property in a very high market and then it went down in a year and then you sold. But if you're planning on staying there for 5-10 years, you'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll
Yeah.
be fine. Yeah.
No, these are good things for me to consider too.
Yeah, those that are taking the most advantage and in the best positions are those investors who have multiple rental properties. Now is the time you're seeing them sell their rental properties, right? And we have to go in there and kind of tread lightly because we're dealing with tenants, 90-day possessions. They're not happy they're being kicked out because even the rental market in Calgary has skyrocketed and is at a record level for rental monthly amounts, and the fact that there's no inventory for rentals even.
Yeah.
So we're in those tough situations where we're dealing with upset tenants, and our client is the seller, not the tenant, but we have to coordinate those things, and it's sad at times because 90-day notice was provided to a young couple who have an infant child, and now they're scrambling to find a new home to live because their landlord is like, well, I'm selling. So
Right.
Yeah.
so, but those sellers, those investors, they're the ones, making out like bandits, so to speak, right now, because I'll sell 2 or 3 of my rental properties because will the prices get this high again for my rental? I don't know. And because the market is so hot for a seller, they don't even have to get their tenants out and do substantial work to maximize what they're going to get in return. They can just put it on the market and sell it as is.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely. Definitely. I do have a question for you as a psychologist. I've heard some people say that you should get a yearly checkup with a psychologist like you do a doctor, maybe doctors more often or whatnot. But what is your opinion on that? Is there any literature on the checkup?
I mean, the research that I know of is that it can take about 4 to 5, 6, up to 12 sessions to start feeling better.
Okay.
Once you start seeing a therapist regularly.
Okay.
I typically recommend that people see me or whoever, a therapist, even when they're doing well.
Okay.
So there tends to be this way of thinking, and it makes sense too for that person where it's like, I'm better, so I don't need to see anybody, I'm healed. But it's when we're better that we can actually do the work.
Yeah.
And it keeps you from falling back into maybe old ways of thinking, old, emotional traps, so to speak.
Definitely. So follow-up question to that.
Sure.
How soon should someone go see a therapist?
Right now.
Right now. Right now.
All jokes aside, I think it's important to really, if you have self-awareness and you're starting to feel like there's some things that there's some blocks. I think that's kind of your time to seek some like a consultation, and most psychologists will have at least a 15-minute free consult. Okay. And then you want to get a fit. Like, is this a good fit? Can I speak to this person? what are their specialties, and then take the plunge there. Psychologists, are ethically liable, and they are supposed to tell you if they can or cannot take you in as a patient. For instance, if you need specific ADHD help, and I don't specialize in ADHD, I would tell you that and then redirect you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is that...
Yeah. No, definitely. It's just one of those things where it's like, when should someone go see a psychologist? Like when they have some bad feelings, or like, it's a tough thing to gauge.
So Sebastian, your issues require a team. Psychologists, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna need 3 or 4 different specialists.
A whole team of people. No, but I'm curious because, like, when you got like family members that you care about or whatnot, and it's like, when do you tell them to maybe seek out help, right?
Yeah, and that's a good question because many folks are dealing with issues that are a result of somebody else not getting therapy. Does that make sense?
Okay. Wow, that's actually...
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have people in our lives...
That speaks volumes. that was good.
I want to be like...
No, it's right.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. And so there's people in our lives that maybe aren't doing well. They could be really close to us, a parent, a child, a sibling, and they are constantly triggering you, and you feel like they need the support, but they're not willing to get it, nor are those conversations maybe allowed in that household or in that family dynamic. And so in that case, it's time for you to manage how you're going to cope with that person.
Okay.
So there is no time, I guess, I can't say you have to see a therapist right this moment. It depends on the person, their willingness to seek help. If you're ready, then that's your calling to, okay, let's book an appointment.
Okay.
And again, it varies on the mental health issues too. So if you have severe, let's say anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, how are you managing it? Who's helping you? If it's just medication, I'm not going to say it's like research says that it's better if you combine medication with therapy. Oh, okay. And for folks that don't have severe mental health issues, maybe they just want some perspective, they can come in whenever.
Okay, so you'll also help people cope with family members with issues too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to know. It's good to know that there's...
Especially, I think you should book it. It sounds like we're finding a lot of...
No, I'm curious, right?
No, it's a good question because sometimes people it feels sort of like invalidating, or not, that's not the word, but it feels kind of like, well, why would I go when I'm not the problem? Mm-hmm. And then it seems like there's now going to be a label on you, but really it's like, I like to look at it as for regular folks, for anybody who's not dealing with any severe issues, is like a tune-up for the car, kind of,
Okay.
Go in, check in, you're getting ethical care, best practices, why not?
Yeah.
This is like the vessel for so much.
Yeah, kind of important, right?
Yeah. Why not get it checked a little bit?
Enough.
Definitely. You don't, right?
Get some perspective.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on. It was great to get to know all about you, and happy that you're out there and folks like you are out there helping, because as time goes on and how society is changing, this is going to be required more than people think. I'm glad you touched on that. It not necessarily might be you, it might be someone in your inner circle that is causing issues for you, and it might not be that I have a problem, I need help. It might be there's outside factors. So not only do I need help, I think someone else needs help, and that's a tough conversation to have for anyone. Like,
100%.
How hard is it to tell? I have family members that struggle with things, and how hard is it to tell them you have an issue?
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone's going to get defensive and say, I don't, I don't have a problem. Why would I talk to someone? Everything's fine, right? How would you even set that up? Like, how would you do that?
I mean, you know, it's as a loved one, you care about their well-being, so you're going to encourage them however you can. But ultimately, it's their decision to seek help. And so if you're now struggling with them not seeking the help, then it's up to you to get your perspective. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. I think there's also a little bit of stigma still where if I'm seeking a psychologist, there's something wrong up here. And so that makes me innately flawed. You know, I don't think that's the case at all. You know, I've sought therapy. I've sought therapy since I was 20. I'm much older now. You know, and I thought at the time that it was good for me because of the circumstances around me, my own work. And also, I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. So I thought, well, if I want to be a psychologist, how can I be one if I don't know the other side and what it's like to be a patient or a client? But yes, it's just, what I'm trying to say is, you know, normalizing it for yourself. That it's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person or something wrong with you. It's just get some perspective and support. Yeah,
and it's really cool like how technology has changed, and it's in your industry, it's in our industry, right? Technology, and because way back when you had to go in person. There was no such thing as online consultation with your therapist or psychologist, right?
Exactly.
So that's really amazing. Again, thanks again everyone for tuning in, and give Farrah a follow here. So it's FQ Psychology, as we mentioned, on Instagram, and she has her office here downtown. And do you want to give anything else out for how people can reach out to you? Or
my email is farrah@fqpsychology.com. If there's any questions, concerns, you know, shoot me an email and I'll guide you into kind of how to move forward and what's needed.
Amazing, thank you.
All right, fellas.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.